Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone on a very snowy Tuesday night is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, did you successfully dig everybody out?
We did just a few minutes ago. We finished digging out the last car here in Little Ravenna, Ohio. I live on a side street, side street, so it took a long time to get plowed, but we're all dug out. But, man, it's all sunshine as my Rams keep moving on, man.
Yeah, they looked really good in last night's game. I told you that OBJ would catch a touchdown, and he did. And Cooper Kupp caught a touchdown, and Stafford looked pretty good. Only had to throw 17 passes, but everything you saw last night has to make you really excited moving forward, doesn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think last night, and maybe a lot of it is because Cam Akers somehow looks that good 5 months removed from tearing an ACL.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think last night is probably exactly the offense Sean McVay imagined with Matt Stafford, where it's 17 passes that aren't 4 yards downfield like with Jared Goff. Like, that is, I think, exactly the offense they envisioned with Stafford. He played great. Odell continues to be awesome as not the number one. Cooper Kupp still claiming to be the number one wide receiver in the NFL. And that defense absolutely tore Kyler Murray up.
Yeah, that was what really stood out to me was how that Arizona offense could not do a single thing against that Rams defense. That defense was just super charged up. They were getting pressure. They were hounding receivers. That was a long day for Kyler Murray, and I was pretty surprised. Well, I guess I shouldn't say I was surprised. I was surprised how close the stats were, but I've been saying all year there's a lot of quarterbacks that should be thankful Baker Mayfield takes a lot of bullets because Kyler Murray's now entering that discussion. I was shocked to see the first things first graphic that showed that Kyler and Baker, other than Baker having some more interceptions, is not as many running yards, but they're basically the same quarterback after 3 seasons.
I mean, I don't know why that surprises you.
Yeah, it shouldn't because Kyler always fades late in the season, and I'm a fucking dummy for taking them in this game.
I told you what was going to happen, bro, and you've been telling me all year how they were going to fade at the end of the year, which you were right on.
I know, and I even had the Rams to win the NFC West, so that's like a double dumbass.
Yeah, I mean, our Rams NFC West bet is still looking good. My Rams Super Bowl pick is still looking good, although the worst possible matchup I could have wanted is happening next week, but we'll get into that. No, I think, that's the thing about Baker is, so many Browns fans, so many national media, they beat him up so much, but statistically, he is an average, 10 to 15 NFL quarterback with a whole bunch of other guys who don't take the same amount of bullets he does, which is weird. Kyler Murray looked like the moment was too big for him last night.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't help that his coach didn't know the Rams could blitz or could get pressure with 4. Apparently he thought it was 2-hand touch, I guess. I don't know. The Cardinals looked so unprepared for what the Rams were going to do defensively. But Kyler looked like he was not ready for that moment. We've talked about it every year of his career. He has either gotten injured or really fell off at the end of the year. Now the Cardinals are entering the same place the Browns are of, what do we do with Kyler? Can we spend all that money on him? Is he our guy? This is now going back like 6 years where Cliff Kingsbury has ended a season on a losing streak. Like, I don't know. Like,
they lost 4 or 5 coming into this game.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Cardinals are close. I don't know how much I believe that. I think they have a ton of talent on defense, some really good pieces on offense, but I don't believe in Kyler, and I don't think I believe in Kingsbury. Like, I expected Sean McVay to be the better coach, but not by that wide of a margin. I mean, that game wasn't as close as the score dictated, and the score wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even as close as the score was. The Cardinals just got outplayed by the Rams, and as we talked about, we kind of thought Matt Stafford was probably the quarterback with the most to gain or the most to lose with a win or a loss, and he played about as perfect as he could have played. If it wouldn't have been for a couple other quarterback performances this week, and it would have been the better quarterback performance, but it probably comes in at number 3. But Stafford did everything he was supposed to do. He didn't always go for the cool pass. He threw it to the open guy. got rid of the interceptions, which is what you said. You said if he can stay away from the interceptions, they'll be okay, but you didn't think he could stay away from the interceptions. He was able to do that, and the Rams get to move on.
Yeah, they just look like they had another level of intensity. And
Yeah.
something I criticized the Cleveland Browns for during the course of this season was not matching the intensity of their opponents. And what I saw on the field was that, but on steroids. It just looked like there was a chasm between these two teams, and I can't believe that it came down to the wire in the NFC West. Like I really can't. It just what I saw on the field really blew my mind. LA just took care of business, and they look really good heading into their matchup against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, with this being the third matchup of the year between the two teams, I think that is where it comes down to coaching and just the. I'm not always a big intangibles guy, but to me, that's an intangible game. When it's the third time you've played a team in the season, who's going to be cleaner, who's going to be more prepared, who's going to want it more, and which coaching staff is going to understand what the other team is going to want to do and be able to take it away and not let the other team take away what they want to do. Sean McVay and his coaching staff coached a perfect game. Kudos to the Rams, and we've been suspect of Cliff Kingsbury since he was hired. I'm not really sure there's anything that swayed my opinion of that. Same thing with Kyler Murray. So we'll see what the Rams, what the Cardinals look to do in the offseason. See if they can get some pieces on offense to help Kyler out. But the Rams were just absolutely the better team on that football field.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that DeAndre Hopkins is that important to that offense. Because if he is, then that says a lot about Kyler Murray and his ability to lead that offense and what they should be looking to sign him at. Because over $40 million sounds ridiculous for Murray right now.
Yep, I completely agree.
So the Rams looked really good against the Cardinals. They'll be taking on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay looked really good against the Eagles. And just a quick programming note, our good friend, super Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, Matt Fox, will be joining us this Friday. He'll be arguing with Jimmy about this LA-Tampa game. I can't wait for it. It'll be great. But what we saw on the field, Tampa Bay just completely outclassed Philadelphia in this game. And that seemed to be just the story from the beginning. Jalen Hurts couldn't really get anything going until garbage time. Tom Brady just picked them apart. Tampa Bay just pretty much did whatever they wanted in this game.
Yeah, the 7 seeds did not fare well at all this weekend. And,
nope.
There's a lot of people, that are pointing out, if they had enacted this 7-team rule 2 years ago in the AFC, it would have been the Mason Rudolph Steelers to get that 7th spot. So we can imagine what they would have looked like in a playoff game. I was stunned at how poor the Eagles looked compared to the Buccaneers. I did not expect it. Like we talked about, we knew the Eagles were going to try to establish the run, and it probably wasn't going to work. And then Hurts would hopefully be able to I hoped Hurts would be able to find a little magic. Kudos to you. You hammered this. You said the Buccaneers were going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. They did just that. I thought the Eagles would be able to cover with that 8.5. It seemed like a lot of points, but boy, was I wrong. But I've been wrong on the Eagles all year, so it makes perfect sense. But they just seemed like they were outcoached and outplayed at every position on the football field and looked like maybe I know you made the playoffs, but it looks like you still probably are looking for a quarterback and you've got a lot of pieces to add. Like, I don't understand, like, late in the game, you finally forced the ball to Devonta Smith, and he did good things. I don't understand why that wasn't the game plan to start.
I think Jalen Hurts is a lot like your criticisms of Lamar, and it's he can't throw outside the numbers. Yeah. And in this game, he just wouldn't. Tampa Bay was giving them single coverage on their outside receivers all day, and you could just, like, Troy Aikman was getting so annoyed that they weren't throwing it. Yep. He was more annoyed at that than he was not being able to call the Dallas game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the throw was there. I mean, it was there. Devonta Smith was running good routes. I don't understand. I don't understand why you don't make those throws. I don't. Yeah,
or even just that. That Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Smith, where hey, look, the cornerback's 10 plus yards off of me. Just throw it to me, and I'll get like 5 to 7, or maybe I'll break something. They just never ran that play. They just looked like they had absolutely no business being on the field with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, it's hard to believe that you watch that game for the Buccaneers. I mind you, they got a lot of key pieces back on defense, But it's hard to believe that we watched that game and the Buccaneers were without a lot of their key offensive pieces because it didn't really look like it.
It just didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter. So
what do you think? What do you think the Eagles end up doing at quarterback? Do you think they stick with Hurts for another season?
I think they're going to have to take a long look at that shit list of unrestricted free agent quarterbacks. Maybe take a look at some of the better backups in the league because we know Gardner Minshew is not the answer. But and then you may just be like, man, maybe.
Oh, what you don't think Gardner Minshew has potential as a starter in this league?
No.
You're not like Bill Simmons thinking he's going to go save the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, absolutely not. But
it's just an outrageous take.
Yes, it's completely pointless. I mean, we've seen what happens when any team gets the game plan for Gardner Minshew. He plays like shit. But maybe the Eagles front office goes, hey, we're going to just kind of sacrifice Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts for a couple of years till we get the quarterback that we want. Because they do have a lot of good pieces on offense, and the defense is okay-ish. I thought the defense was better than they showed, so maybe the defense isn't actually any good. I don't know. Maybe they, like the Cowboys, they were just a product of the teams they played against all year. I don't know.
Ding, 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 ding.
But I think they have. I don't think you can.
I think it helps when you get to play the Giants and the Washington football team twice, 4 times total a year.
Yeah, I just don't know how you see the performance that Jalen Hurts put up the last 2 weeks and go, that's our guy to build around. Like, I wouldn't want to have to make that decision at all. But like we said, is Jalen Hurts better than most of those guys on that unrestricted free agent list? Possibly. Like,
well, I think they're sort of in the same place that the Browns are with Baker, where you look at that list and maybe some of those guys are a little more consistent with their, like their average bar is higher than the average bar of Jalen Hurts or Baker, but Jalen and Baker can be better than those guys on any given day.
Yeah.
And there isn't enough that, you're not giving up assets to be marginally better, especially when we're talking about first round picks that you're going to have to give up. You're better off using that pick to get a receiver or shoring up your line to help your quarterback.
Yeah, because it's the same thing as we talked about a lot with some other teams. Like, it's not like if you took Jalen Hurts out of that game and put in a better quarterback, that team still probably got their ass kicked because they were beat on every aspect of the football
yeah, they just got their asses kicked.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the most controversial of the Sunday games, which was the last of the NFC games. The 49ers beat the Dallas Cowboys 23-17. We told you that Mike McCarthy was going to fuck something up. And Mike McCarthy ended up fucking up a couple of things. And I think that's what cost the Dallas Cowboys this game. Are you in agreement with me? I think all of this bitching about the refs and having to respot the ball, I think that's just Dallas's mismanagement of the clock.
Yeah, no, I'm not willing to just put it on McCarthy. It also has to be put on Dak, who played poor the whole day, and it has to be put on Kellen Moore. All three of them. That was a horrible decision. I don't know. They talk about, every other team in the league says you need 18 seconds to run that play. They tried to do it with 14.
Dak said they practiced it.
And Dak pretended like he could just hand it to the center and the center could just snap it like he hasn't been playing in the NFL
Tony Romo's screaming like, the ref's got to touch the ball. The ref's got to touch the ball.
It was absolutely silly. I don't understand. Dak has, one criticism you can't have of Dak, he throws a pretty good deep ball. I don't understand what the need for running for another 15 yards was instead of taking 3 shots at the end zone. It's very weird to me. With the wide receivers they have a lot of talent.
Well, don't tell that to Mike McCarthy. He was very adamant that, 2 shots from the 35 was a much worse scenario than 1 shot from the 20.
Yeah, I don't.
He was very adamant about that in his press conference. I don't know why, but he doubled down on it.
Me and Mike McCarthy have disagreed all year on what a good coaching decision is. So,
well, I know there are 2 big coaching decisions that you disagreed with because we texted about it while we were watching the game. And the first one was when they had the 4th down that they punted in the early-ish third quarter, and then the field goal that they kicked later instead of going for it. That just, both of those felt like the type of plays that when Brandon Staley does the opposite, he gets butchered for when it doesn't work. But we don't talk about Mike McCarthy being conservative on both those situations and it not working out.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like Brandon Staley, at least he can say if it didn't work out, he can say, but if it would have worked, this is the opportunity I gave my team. Those were two horrific decisions. Like kicking that field goal, it was horrible. Like it was a horrible decision. But we weren't surprised. Like we weren't surprised.
They kicked a field goal to stay down 2 scores.
There's no point in it. But everything we predicted that was going to happen in this game happened. Like absolutely everything. Jimmy G's going to throw a critical interception when the game's over.
Oh my God, that pick that he threw was so atrociously bad. He could have just thrown that into the stands the way San Francisco's defense was playing.
Yep. Dak Prescott's going to throw a dumb interception. Check. Deebo Samuel's going to make some great things happen. Check. Kyle Shanahan is somehow going to outcoach Mike McCarthy. Check. Like everything we predicted for this game happened. It was easy money.
Oh, and we missed one Mike McCarthy fuck up. They do the great fake punt that gets them that extra first down, and then they get cute trying to get San Francisco to burn a timeout, and then they make the substitution late, which leads to a delay of game because they didn't give San Francisco enough time to sub, so then they had to take the penalty. And like that is Mike McCarthy in a nutshell, man.
The only coach that did a good job, for the Cowboys was Bones, Jim Fossil. He's always really good. He's great in those spots. Kudos to Greg Zuerlein for making all his kicks, but I think everyone, including myself, was expecting the Cowboys to score a touchdown, and then Zuerlein missed the extra point. Like it was just wrote in the walls. That's what was going to happen, and that game was going to go to overtime to give McCarthy another chance to fuck up clock management. That didn't happen, sadly. It would have been even better, but yeah, that game to me, well, we talked about it. We felt that was one of the easier games to predict this weekend. Everything we thought would happen happened. It was easy money for San Francisco on the money line and on the spread. So kudos to us.
And the big thing there is Nick Bosa left the game with a concussion.
Oh.
Obviously, we'll have to see what happens with him for this week because they
that play looked like a 5-car pileup, man. That was horrible.
Yeah, that was ugly to watch. And they're playing on Saturday, so they have a shorter week than you would normally expect. So if they don't have Nick Bosa, that'll definitely hurt them against Green Bay.
Yeah.
The last game on Saturday night was another blowout. The Kansas City Chiefs put their foot down and just ended Ben Roethlisberger's career in the best way possible. It was a lot of fun to watch that, and it was even more fun at the end when you could just tell that Collinsworth and Michaels were trying to will Ben Roethlisberger to one last touchdown, and I'm so happy it didn't happen, and I'm so angry at the two of them for gushing that much and being that ridiculous, especially Al Michaels. He's usually better than that.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a lot of parts of Ben Roethlisberger's career in the NFL, off the field and off the field, seem to have been scrubbed from everybody's memories. I mean, his last 4 playoff games have been horrific. I mean, you got housed by Blake Bortles. You got destroyed by the Patriots. Baker went into your house and whooped your ass. And then you had this game where you were outclassed on every possible way. The Chiefs did exactly what we said they would do. You just fill up the running lanes, and if Najee doesn't have the ball, you go tackle Ben. These great wide receivers that everybody tells me Pittsburgh has continues to drop every ball, probably because 1.5 seconds after Roethlisberger gets the ball, they're not through their route, and they're surprised it's there. It's probably got something to do with it.
Maybe, but Deontay Johnson had 2 really bad drops in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Ben did not look like he should have been on the football field across from Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs just did whatever they wanted after that first quarter and a half. There were a lot of people after TJ Watt got the fumble return for the touchdown. They were like, this is exactly the game the Steelers needed. It just kind of seemed like that was the wake up the Chiefs needed. From that point on, it was all Chiefs.
They scored 5 touchdowns. They scored 5 touchdowns in less than 12 minutes of game time or something ridiculous like that. It just ended the game.
I can't say I saw who made the tackle. I was screaming at the TV when Pittsburgh took that timeout where they were clearly trying to get Ben off on a touchdown. I wanted Spags to just run a zero blitz and go kill him, but it was almost better that they let him complete the pass and then somebody speared the shit out of the young tight end.
It was just so much fun to see it, not only as a Browns fan but also as a gambler who has some money on Kansas City. They looked fantastic. They look like they're back, and you know, they got the big matchup with Buffalo coming up, who also just, goddamn, they boat raced New England. You were all over that, my friend. You convinced me to change my pick on that, and it is a good thing you did, because the Patriots looked really bad in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. You know, it just, the last couple of weeks, it's looked like the Patriots defense was completely wore down, and it showed. They had no intensity. They had no fire off the line of scrimmage. They couldn't cover anybody. I mean, you know, Dawson Knox catches balls that Josh Allen's just trying to throw away. I mean, it was an absolute beatdown. I've never seen a Belichick defense look that unprepared for what was coming at them. Josh Allen didn't really even run that much. I mean, he ran some, but he didn't even run that much. It was more just stand in the pocket and throw it to whoever he wanted to. And we expect Mac Jones to get better over the next few years, but much like a lot of other quarterbacks this weekend, he looked like he didn't deserve to be on the field against the quarterback for the other team. Like, I mean, he looked horrible. He looked unprepared.
Chasm. Looked like there was a chasm between Josh Allen and Mac Jones.
Now, I would say early, though, the Patriots had some key drops that I think really killed some momentum that they had, that just gave Buffalo more chances. That was one of the better interceptions I've ever seen a defensive back make. That was one hell of an interception by Micah Hyde. And just, but Buffalo, you know, since their moral victory losses, Buffalo has been on an absolute tear. And this could be one of the greatest playoff games of recent memory. Like, the Chiefs and the Bills, it could be something really special.
Josh Allen looks like he's really locked in. And I don't think he needs to run 15 times to get the most out of his running ability, because he's a good passer. So, you know, he gets the mileage of 12 carries out of his 6 carries, because you have to respect his passing game. So, you know, if you start dropping people back, then he can start running and picking up first downs to extend drives. It's going to be a hell of a game, Buffalo and Kansas City, because it looks like they're both playing their best football right now as they're going into that matchup, and we couldn't really ask for more.
Yep.
Well, let's wrap up with the first game of the super wild card round. The Cincinnati Bengals get a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. This game was just another really bad decision by referees leads to a Cincinnati touchdown that ends up being the difference. But I don't know how much those Derek Carr fourth quarter comebacks matter when he can't do it in the playoffs.
No, I completely agree. You know, Derek Carr, you know, we know he's been itching to play in a playoff game, and I'm not going to say the moment looked too big for him because he made a few big throws, but even I don't care who was telling him he needed to spike that ball on first down. That was a horrible decision.
Yeah, they lost the play there.
Yeah, to lose the play there, and then the last play you don't even throw the ball in the end zone. I can't understand that, but you know, I mean, everybody else has talked about it. We don't need to talk about the whistle play. That was just wild.
The refs just blew it. I mean, they just blew that call.
Yeah. I just have a problem with, even after the game, the officials saying that the receiver had already caught the ball. Like, no, sir. No.
Like, it's just, like, do you guys know that there's a million cameras here watching this game, and that there's audio all over the place, which, you know, is why nobody in Cleveland believes that there's no audio of the Myles Garrett
Mason Rudolph.
I couldn't remember fuck's name.
Yeah, the helmet play. Yeah, like, I had more of a problem personally. Like, I had more of a problem on the early field goal drive the Bengals have, where Jamar Chase got away with just as blatant of a push-off as you could possibly get away with, and the Bengals got a field goal there. I had a problem with that. And then, like, Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow, like, however you want to look at it, the last drive before they gave the ball back to the Raiders was very, very like their offense, unlike they've been playing. It was a very scared possession. What happened to, Jamar Chase is down there somewhere. You got very scared. The Raiders held you. The Raiders should have at least tied the game, but just what a mistake. I don't understand how Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow don't get a look in that situation. I don't understand the spike. Like, Derek Carr has to know better. I almost put it more on Carr than the coach, who I don't really have a lot of backstory on. I don't know, how many times he's been in situations like that. But like, that would have been the perfect time for the old Brett Favre fake spike play, throw it up to Darren Waller, see what he can do. The Raiders I feel like the Raiders really let that get away.
Yeah, you get a play and you only lose maybe 6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah. The Bengals gave them an opportunity to take that game into overtime, and they just gave it right back to them. So I don't know. The Bengals, I still don't think the Bengals are going to be able to handle Tennessee next week. I think Tennessee will be able to handle Cincinnati pretty easily, but it should still be a good game. Burrow is playing well, but he still took some hits in that game that you just hate to see the guy take. Like, they've got to get that offensive line short up, or Joe Burrow's career might be a lot shorter than it needs to be. But kudos to the Bengals. Leaving the Lions all alone is the only team without a playoff victory for the last 25 years.
Yeah, and with their win, they won a playoff game this year. The Browns and Baltimore won playoff games last year. The Pittsburgh Steelers, now the team that has gone the longest without winning a playoff game in the AFC North.
All darned.
Yeah, just a shame to see that. Vegas goes into the offseason. They basically have the same decision to make with Carr that the Browns do with Baker. Carr has one more year left on his contract at 19. I think he actually has 2 years left, but the last year is not guaranteed. So do you think they're going to end up hanging on to him and bringing it back for one more year with a new coach and seeing what they can do? Or do you think – I don't think anybody after that playoff game is giving them 2 first-rounders for Carr. I don't really see that happening.
I don't think you can get a first-rounder for Derek Carr right now. I don't know one team out there that is a Derek Carr away from being successful in the NFL. I think it'll just all depend on who comes in as the GM. Now, I know Mayock was let go. Was the interim coach, has he been let go yet too? Obviously that'll happen, I would imagine. But it's just going to depend.
I don't know if that's been official yet.
Yeah, it's just going to depend who comes in as the GM and what direction they go. I could certainly see a new GM coming in and rolling with Derek Carr for next year and figuring out their move for the following year. I could see Derek Carr having one last year to really prove himself, see what they can do, maybe bridge to the future of the organization. And I think Derek Carr would probably be okay with that. He seems to love that organization. So I don't think he'd get too bitter about that.
Yeah, right now they haven't made anything official, but you can just assume that they'll have a head coaching vacancy. And it looks like Jared Mayo is somebody that they are going to interview when they do their coaching search. So his name's already popped up a couple of times. That's a former player for the Patriots. And, just as we enter this season of head coaching searches, Mike Tomlin's the only black head coach in the NFL. And this was going to be something that the league has told us that they wanted to address and get more people of color in places of head coaching and GM offices, and those efforts don't seem to be paying off.
No, but I really I would be shocked if you don't have some combination of Brian Flores, Byron Leftwich, Eric Bieniemy, Jared Mayo, D'Amico Ryans. People are talking about Hines Ward. Like, I think you will certainly see a couple black coaches hired. Brian Flores, to me, is a shoo-in to be back as a head coach this year.
Yeah, I'd be really surprised. If he's not a coach next year, it's because he doesn't want to be a coach next year.
Yeah, I agree. And Todd Bowles will have a great chance as well after the game plan, the game film he just put out there. So, I will be shocked if the new year starts with there still only being 1 or 2 black head coaches. Now, if that is the case, then the NFL at some point, it's almost like it's going to have to be oversaw by some oversight committee that doesn't have to do with the NFL. Like, no, before you hire this white person, you have to explain why they deserve the job more than Eric Bieniemy. Like, I have to know. Like, you have to explain it. And if you can't explain it, you're not allowed to hire him. Like I mean, it just feels like that's where it's going to be.
And it feels like even if Kansas City goes and, even if they just make the Super Bowl, they don't necessarily have to win it, but that would mean that they've gone to now 3 straight Super Bowls, and I can't remember if Buffalo was losing coordinators back then, but the way NFL teams poach coordinators from Super Bowl winning teams, it would be almost unfathomable that Eric Bieniemy would not get a coaching job.
Yeah, and the only thing I wonder about, because like Leslie Frazier's name is popping back up as being interviewed
You've
again.
even heard Lovie Smith's name a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I mean, he did an amazing job with that Texans defense,
he did.
And I guess he, like as I talked about, he was a real, just for the overall organization, he was a real galvanizing presence along with David Culley. But the thing I wonder too, like with what happened with like Steve Wilkes in Arizona, you could even say Jim Caldwell in Detroit, because we don't always hear about what coaches turn down opportunities. You wonder if some of these black coordinators are being like, you know what, I'm not going to go be the sacrificial lamb for the Giants. I'll stay here and run this unit that's doing really well underneath this really good head coach. I don't know if there's any of that in play.
I wouldn't blame them if they did. I mean, we saw how many coaches came into Cleveland that were, well, here's a shit roster, and, you only won 3 games with this shit roster that, could probably only win 3 or 4 games anyway, so you're fired, and we're going to bring somebody else in.
Right, exactly. So I don't know how much goes into play with that, but it's hard to say. R.I.P. to the experiment of Mike Mayock running a front office. I do hope at some point he does an interview explaining to us which one of the draft picks were his and which ones were Gruden's, because man, they just had miss after miss in the first and second round, but a lot of their picks in the later rounds were really key contributors to their team. So I'm curious, where the power struggle was, but man, I can't believe the Raiders 3 years ago foresaw this happening with Mayock and Gruden. Like, man, what a run.
I think it's a good place to end up. Any final thoughts here on the super wild card weekend?
No, I'm super excited over the next couple of days to dig into these matchups, because there are going to be some great playoff games next week, and I don't think there's going to be too many blowouts. I think you're going to have great game after great game. A lot of guys cementing legacies, starting legacies. I think next weekend is going to be a wonderful playoff, and it's going to be, the lines are already, most of them are all like under a touchdown. So it's just going to be, who's winning by a field goal, who's winning by a touchdown. It's going to be a fun time to pick these games and see what's going on. And do we have a couple minutes for a little Browns coverage?
Yeah, absolutely. Always.
So unfortunately, one of the guys we were hoping would stick around looks like MJ Stewart is out. He posted a farewell to Cleveland on his social media. We were really hoping he would get re-signed, and then
he's probably gonna get some actual starting offers, would be my guess.
Yeah, because I mean he's got great tape from this year, and then there's still a lot of reports coming out, but some kind of absolute madness happened with Malik McDowell this weekend. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, something happened in Florida where apparently there was some kind of altercation, or there was an argument that eventually wound up with the police showing up. He's charged with, was it assaulting an officer? He's obstruction, and apparently he dropped trow or something like that.
He was butt naked in the street, bro.
Is this another William Gay situation?
Like people are wondering.
William Green? William Green.
Yeah. People are wondering what drugs he was on. Like, I guess he was butt naked, like outside of a school. Now the school was closed, but like because of that, the police were called, and he charged at the cop trying to fight him. Like, I guess it was a really bad situation, and it's not the way we wanted the offseason to start for some of our players, man.
No, and he's what's called an exclusive free agent, so the Browns pretty much completely control his next contract. For those of you wondering about that contract and status, that is the same status that Tyler Huntley, the Baltimore Ravens quarterback, has, which is why anybody thinking that he'll wind up in Cleveland as a possible replacement for Baker's probably dreaming. I think Baltimore is going to end up re-signing him to whatever contract they want as a backup, and maybe he's a potential we don't believe in Lamar backup plan, but I don't know if the Browns will end up doing anything with Malik McDowell now. I mean, this is they brought him in on a second chance, and I don't know if they're going to give him a third.
Yeah, I don't know either. So that was not the start we were looking to for the offseason, but it's got to be something, right? It's got to be something. But like I said, man, I really think the Tampa Rams game is the game I'm most looking forward to next week. I think.
I'm all about that KC Buffalo game.
Oh, yeah. Really, but San Francisco Green Bay should be really good too.
We'll see what happens with Bosa, but that really just comes down to Rodgers versus Garoppolo for me. I haven't seen what any of the lines are now, but everybody seems to be really big on that San Francisco train now, and I don't think beating that Dallas team is as impressive as everybody's making it out to be. And specifically with Green Bay and Tennessee, I think that extra bye week is just so important to not have to play a game the week before this late in the season, to be able to rest and give yourself a chance to get back to a closer state of full health. We see it every year. These teams with the byes, they come out and they usually play a lot better, and they look rested and they look better.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you for joining me to discuss the wild card games we saw this weekend.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
All right, and we thank you for listening to us. Please click a like or a subscribe if you like what we're doing here. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bussin'. Representing for the people. Cleveland Cavaliers.